I just love this story so much. Let's go ahead and put this up there on the screen. So we got a late Friday pronouncement. This was from CBS News. They said, given the news that some 75% of existing employees at Twitter were ultimately going to resign and didn't sign Elon's, quote, hardcore pledge, that they would be suspending all Twitter activity due to, quote, uncertainty under Elon Musk's leadership. So what they said is that the ultimatum and the fallout, they said that their anxiety and enlightened of uncertainty around Twitter, and out of an abundance of caution, CBS News is pausing its activity on social media as it continues to monitor the platform. Now, there's a lot of questions on that. What does that even mean? Because nothing that was going on at Twitter in terms of the reduction in force had really anything to do with the ability for you to distribute stories on social media. Like, what exactly was the uncertainty? That it wouldn't be there? Well, if it's not there, then just don't tweet anymore. If it's there, why not just keep tweeting? Because that's your job.
I can very much understand if you're telling your journalists, do not DM anything that's private.
Oh, sure.
Don't be corresponding with sources. Like, I think there's a real risk of, heightened hacking risk and heightened security risk. But if you're just using it to like send out your stories, what's the risk? What's the uncertainty? I mean, sure, maybe it crashes, maybe it goes down. It's possible when you have this like skeleton crew running the whole thing, but I think it would be wise to advise your journalists, and for any of you out there, I think it also would be wise to like delete some of your DM conversation, anything that you wouldn't want to be like hacked or private information. I think that is wise and probably was always wise because DMs were never encrypted.
Correct.
But outside of that, I don't really get it. It seems like a virtue signal. I mean, that's
and then that's exactly what it turned out to be, because literally 48 hours later, let's put this up there, they tweet out, after pausing for the weekend to assess the security concerns, CBS and Stations is resuming its activity on Twitter as we continue to monitor the situation.
Thank goodness.
First of all, monitor the situation. Again, what does that mean? Security concerns. As you said, okay, there's an argument, I guess, to be made. Frankly, if you're a journalist or security, if you don't have secure comms anywhere, that's a huge problem. Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs, Facebook messages,
the very least
any
use
places.
Signal. But I mean, a real news organization like this will have their own setup system for corresponding with confidential sources.
Right. Yeah. Look, if you really want to be secure, use Proton Mail and use Signal. Like that's basically all I use, especially Signal in private communications for this exact reason, especially when talking about something sensitive regarding sources and others. Those are the only people there's the only place that I'll correspond with anybody on. So, okay, I think that's a fine time actually to remind everyone like why you should be doing that. But it was complete and total virtue signaling. And it just belied like this real crazy panic that happened, on Friday after the news, or Thursday night. By the way, shout out to Counterpoints because they had breaking news coverage on that, the mass firing that was happening at Twitter. Yeah. And everybody's like, oh my God, Twitter's dying and all that. Guess what, guys? It's been like 72 hours and Twitter is fine. It turns out it was working completely fine. Says something interesting that you could fire 88% of employees from whenever you take something over, and the platform still works, which is kind of crazy. Maybe it'll break, and we'll find out something new. I don't know yet.
Listen, I'm not a tech expert. I think there is certainly a decent case to be made that, okay, the platform can continue just sort of like on momentum for a while, but next time something breaks, next time there's an issue, do they have the staff in place to be able to deal with that? I mean, they're talking about their like entire teams that are missing at this point. Yeah. Basically, the people that stayed by reports are people who are worried about their immigration status and need the job to be able to stay in the country. Yeah, I mean, really, I think the rest of the staff was like, all right, good luck with what you're doing there and your little hardcore pledge. I think I'm going to go take the 3-month severance and see if greener pastures exist. It is like, it is wild the way that he has just careened from one idea to the next. It has been truly chaotic and insane, especially when you consider that he at least purports to believe Twitter is actually really important, that it is the digital town square. And that's why I care about this ultimately, because I think these social media platforms, they are natural monopolies. Like the value from them comes in the fact that everybody is there. That's why things like Gab and Parler and True Social or whatever were always going to be sort of a sideshow to the main event. And so it does matter, the quality of the platform, the quality of the tools. It matters whether it can persist into the future and what that all ultimately looks like. And the level of just sort of like throwing everything against the wall and careening from one decision and then totally doing a U-turn in the completely opposite way is not a great way to run a company.
Yeah, and I will say the thing that actually pissed me off the most is actually somehow getting the least amount of attention. When he said, quote, new Twitter policy is freedom of speech, but not freedom of reach.
Yeah.
Negative hate tweets will be max deboosted and demonetized. No ads or other revenue. You won't find the tweet unless you specifically seek it out, which is no different than the rest of the internet. I mean, look, as I have said from the beginning, what does negative and hate tweet even mean? Who decides? What's hateful? What's negative? You ask one person on the left, they're gonna say this is hateful. You ask one person on the right, they're gonna say that is hateful. What qualifies as negative? It's all in the eyes of the beholder, and it should not be up to some sort of centralized decision-making authority. I know it's uncomfortable.
Whether it's Elon or anyone else.
Yes, anyone. Exactly, like who knows how exactly this is going to be enforced? And can you even enforce it given the amount of staff that you have? It's actually cheaper and easier in the long run to just say, all tweets get equal treatment as long as they abide by the First Amendment. I mean, and Twitter's use policy or whatever it's called, users' terms of service, where they're like, you can't dox someone. Okay, that's fine. Just let it all float free. It's easier to moderate. But, and this is what he's getting to, at the end of the day, this is an admission that ad revenue is still king at Twitter. Mm-hmm. They have to care about ads and what gets served and what's not, because that is the major revenue line. It's also, frankly, an admission that the initial Twitter Blue rollout was a total failure. They say it will come out sometime at the end of November. By the way, you and I are losing our check marks. What a cry.
I'm devastated.
I could care less. Twitter check mark or not. The point is that they are admitting essentially here that they really do not have any real subscription plan in the interim, and that their content moderation policy is going to effectively be downstream of that. I will say I saw a little bit of good news, which is that there was a leaked document saying that the secondary thing that they are working on is called Blue for Enterprise. So I get maybe they heard our ideas, about charging companies and others. We'll see, but that's not nearly as much in discussion as the actual Twitter Blue verification rollout, which, look, I want to see initial numbers and revenue. It's a private company, so we'll never know fully what it is.
Right.
According to Elon right now, they say that there's more users on the platform than any time before. But there's no way to know. And also, why does that matter if you have no advertisers?
That's it. I mean, okay, that's fine. But they're all tweeting about like how the platform is about to tank and go under, and like the whole thing is a chaotic mess. But it doesn't matter much from a revenue perspective. This has always been the challenge with Twitter and with other companies too. I mean, the whole idea with these tech companies was in the beginning, a lot of them was like, oh, if you get the users, then we'll figure out the business model later. Right. And with Twitter, especially if many of the advertisers have fled at this point, the fact that you have more users on the platform for free doesn't actually help you in terms of your business model. And going back to what you were saying about using the algorithm to suppress whatever he deems hate speech to be, this is in a lot of ways the most pernicious form of censorship, because at least with the bans, President Trump has been banned. There can be a public debate and discussion about that. Can be some pressure placed on the company, but it's very hard to determine what's being suppressed and what's not being suppressed. We see it on YouTube all the time where it's a total black box. I mean, we feel like, okay, this content didn't do well even though we thought it would. Is that because it's suppressed? Is it because people just aren't interested? Why did this segment blow up where it's unexpected? Maybe people just had an interest in it we didn't expect. Or maybe YouTube pumped the shit out of it. You can't, there's no way to know. Yeah. And you end up sounding like a crazy person talking about shadow banning and suppression and all of these things. And since there's zero transparency around how any of this is done, it ends up being actually a lot more nefarious and pernicious, in my opinion, than just the obvious things like the outright bans, where at least you can tell and say definitively what's going on.
Such a great point. Recently, I feel like we've been losing our minds. We've been getting 2,000 to 3,000 new subscribers a month on our YouTube channel, when we previously were getting tens of thousands a month. You and I have been doing this for a long time. I mean, we know what it should look like. And then all of a sudden, just boom, overnight. Is it because of us? I don't know. Is it because of broader market conditions? I tend to suspect so. But how? We don't know. We know nothing about controversial content, what's getting served. We can see our click. So it's okay, the click-through remains the same. Video's not getting served. Why? For what reason?
Right.
Are did people's user preferences change? Is it the algorithm? It's one of those things where, like you said, you genuinely feel like you're losing your mind. And that's a huge problem with, quote, shadow banning, what is negative, what's not. And he needs to release, at the very least, a guide. He's like, this is the exact criteria of which we will an analyzed tweet, but even then, I mean, it's all, the edge cases are where it always matters, and especially high profile in the realm of politics. So we'll see, but I'm very disappointed in that decision.
Hey guys, ready or not, 2024 is fully upon us now, and Saagar and I have been brainstorming ways that we can really up our game for this critical election.
Yeah, we rely on our premium subs to expand our coverage, to add staff, to upgrade the studio. We just want to give you the best independent coverage of this election, which is possible. So if you can help us out, become a premium subscriber today, breakingpoints.com, or the link is down here in the description video. It really means the world to us, and if you like what we're all about, this is the best possible way to keep us 100% independent, working only for you.